It's Thursday in America and most of the rest of the world, at least the parts that I've been to. So it's time for Barry and Will Live. Boy, have we got a great show for you today. Howdy, Will.
How's it going, Barry?
Good to see you, my friend. Good to see you. We got so much news, a lot of it political, a lot of it controversial. Let's jump right in. There's an illegal immigrant from Mexico who's been deported 4 times from the United States after committing murder and going to prison in Alabama. So let's be clear. Comes to the United States, breaks in. That's a felony. Then kills somebody with a friend, gets caught, gets convicted, gets sentenced to, get this, 20 something years, but after 3 years gets released and sent back to Mexico. Breaks into the country 3 more times, committing crimes like crazy. Here's a picture of this beautiful young lady sulking in the back of a locked up car. Her name, in case you ever bump into her, is Maribel Martinez Garcia. She's 40. When they arrested her this time, she had in her possession counterfeit Social Security cards, fake lawful permanent residence cards. She's now being held north of Houston on a charge of illegal entry plus additional charges. This is what the local field officer with ICE said. This arrest is just another example of the critical public safety function that ICE ERO, which is enforcement and removal operations, serves in our local communities while enforcing our nation's immigration laws. We were able to locate this convicted murderer. She's repeatedly violating our nation's immigration laws, and we've taken her into custody before she hurt anyone else. She's a murderer. She only served 3 years on a 20-year sentence. Wow. She was first arrested in 2000, then deported, arrested again in 2004, then deported. 9 days later, she broke in again and voluntarily went back to Mexico until they caught her this time. If I were a political consultant and anyone wanted to pay me $1.50 to listen to my advice, I would jump all over stories like this on the debate next week and the campaign till it was over. It's the number 2 issue.
Yeah.
Among everybody polled in America, Republicans, Democrats, and Independents.
Yeah. And I'm hoping President Trump does bring it up. I'm more likely he will because of all the illegals that are coming in. And you're right, Barry. This should be on the debate stage, should be one of the main topics, but I'm pretty sure ABC is going to avoid it much as possible. And when President Trump brings up that she's a border czar, he's going to end up debating ABC along with Kamala Harris about her being a border czar. And I hope he takes the .gov well, he can't take it with him, but I hope he remembers the actual, what do they call it? The resolution.
But it's in the congressional record.
Yeah, in the congressional record that she is the border czar.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that in detail later. I think the thing that's so important, and I want to get your take on this, is the personalization. When you see these people, 4 times she's been caught. God knows what she's done during those 24 years. She's been breaking in and getting kicked out and breaking in and getting. I mean, you commit murder, and she got less time in jail than for credit card fraud. She only served 4 years. They let her out.
Well, you know what? I believe there's a reason why they're allowing this to happen, because they need the chaos in the country. They need it so they can come around and act like they're there to save the day. Did you see the latest campaign ad for Kamala Harris when she's talking about the border?
No.
You haven't seen it?
No.
Oh my goodness, Barry. She actually did a campaign ad showing the border wall in her campaign ad. And even Aaron Burnett over on the Communist News Network, better known as CNN, actually said that Kamala Harris is showing this ad campaign like she built the wall. They're saying this on CNN.
Wait. The wall that Joe Biden blocked on his first executive order on the first day after inauguration. I'm sorry, I just want to be clear. That border wall?
That border wall, and she showed, and they were talking on CNN saying this is the border wall that Kamala Harris was saying was stupid because they went back through her Twitter files. They went back and they looked. She said the border wall was stupid, that it was racist, that it was his prodigy, that it was everything for President Trump. And now they got in the campaign ad like she's the one that put the border wall up.
All right, so this is not a rhetorical question. Everybody knows when Trump was running for office in 2016, remember, I'm going to build this big, beautiful wall. Mexico's going to pay for it, blah, blah, blah. And Pelosi came out and said, oh, it's too expensive and it's racist and walls don't work, and except for the wall around her house.
Right.
That wall works great. And Pelosi, at the time, the head of the Democrat Party in Congress, had support from people like Kamala Harris saying walls don't work, walls are stupid, we don't have the money, and they're racist.
Yes.
Does the collective mind of the independent voter in America not remember that?
No.
Oh, come
not the
on.
ones that's their base, the ones supporting them. And if they do remember it, they don't care. Why? Because TDS is a real thing. This is our society, and I'm constantly saying it. Something is wrong with our society. Something is truly wrong because we're completely rejecting reality. We know that President Trump was doing a border wall, and now in her ad, she's pushing it as if she's the one that put it up. It's just like no taxes on tips. Oh, what a great idea. Just like $35 insulin. Oh my goodness. And now she's also saying that she's going to regulate and bring down taxes on small businesses and make it easier for you to start a business. Sound familiar?
Yeah,
everything she's saying is she's adopting it from President Trump.
Oh my goodness. Well, let's add insult to injury. I saw this graphic, Will Johnson, yesterday on Fox, and it really struck me. I'm going to show it to you in a second, as so absurd. Not the fact that they put the graphic up, but the content of the graphic. We're 2 months out from the election, almost exactly now. And it's been 50 days since Kamala Harris was crowned privately as the nominee of the Democrat Party without ever receiving a vote. And then a month later, she selected Tim Walz, who never got a vote, as the vice president. So for the first time in American history, and it's not a joke, you've got two candidates running on one of the major parties that nobody ever voted for, ever, in this role. In that time period, Trump has been giving press conferences every day, at least one. So has J.D. Vance. Check out this. Now, wait a minute. I got to give some clarification.
Okay.
The one interview for Harris Walz was a CNN 41-minute interview that no one was allowed to see, that no one was allowed to see the transcripts from. They then edited it down to 18 minutes and released it later. All the other news organizations are asking, can we see the rough cut? No. Can we see the transcript? No. And that counts as a media interview? That's not a press conference. That looked to me, honestly, like a political operation where you sat down with your PR agent, who happens to be named Dana Bash, who didn't ask one tough question and followed up on 0 questions, right? Here's my question for you. 35 and that was yesterday morning. They're probably at 38 by now. Harris Walz have 0 press conferences, and yet the polls are more or less tied. How in the world, we're going to talk about the polling in another story. How in the world are they getting away with this?
You know what? You know what, Barry? I know we're live right now and we're live on Facebook. And there's certain topics that, before in the past you would get censored or banned or blocked or, just completely destroyed because you talked about it. And I'm going to try to talk about this in a roundabout way because I don't want to be the reason why, we hinder American Truth Project from reaching millions of people, because we're telling the truth here and that's the way it should be. They're doing this because Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are completely idiots. I think it's safe to say. I think we all agree, even those on the left, they're complete idiots. And as long as they're complete idiots doing word salad, they're going to block them from doing any interviews or any press conference, anything to keep them out of the media, because they'll say that President Trump will take it and put it in an ad campaign and use it against them. The very fact that they're even thinking that and saying that, no, they're acknowledging that Kamala Harris is a complete idiot. But Barry, a bigger problem is that they don't care.
That's my question.
They don't care.
Why?
Because they have it locked down already. Listen. We're going into November. They should be talking to every camera, every reporter, every constituent. They should be talking to every single person winning their vote. Kamala Harris, you just mentioned it. Kamala Harris got into the position where she is right now without a single vote. And Tim Walz.
It was a coronation.
Yeah. Without a single vote from the American people, they are there. First time in American history, never has happened before. We're looking at full-on communism. They're going to go into November, and you know what, Barry? Even in November, guess what? They still don't need a single vote. Do you understand what I'm saying? They won't need a single vote. They can win this whole thing without a single vote. They did it with the DNC, and we will be sadly mistaken to think that they will not attempt to do it again. They did it to Joe Biden, 2024. They did to President Trump, 2020. I hope people understand what I'm saying. I hate to be the bearer of bad news here. And I'm not saying that all is like we just need to give up because they're going to do what they're going to do. I'm not saying that at all. I'm hoping that you and I are talking about it, that we can come back to this video after November and you can say, Will Johnson, you were wrong. That's my hopes. But as it stands right now,
you better be wrong, because that means it's the end of democracy in America.
It's the end of this country. Our constitutional republic would be burned. She's already said on day one that if she doesn't get what she wants in the first 100 days, that she will do an executive order to eliminate, to suppress your Second Amendment rights, which in returns means that you will no longer have free speech. She's already come out multiple times saying that, like Elon Musk, people with these big tech companies, they should be held responsible for not policing free speech. And all of us right now, you and I, millions, 160 million people, probably 180 million people that's even engaged in this process together, knows that something is wrong with her. And because all of us said something, she's going to come after us just like they did in the 1940s Germany. We're on their target list. We've already been labeled domestic terrorists by the FBI. They're already looking at parents for sticking up for their children. They don't want you to speak out against the sodomy community. They're coming. And it's this most disgusting, terrible thing that ever happened. And it's like a nightmare that's just getting worse. Now, I pray that I'm wrong, Barry. I really, truly pray that I'm wrong. But she did it without any votes now. Who's to say she needs to get votes again? That's the reason why they don't care. That's why they don't care.
You are Mr. Scrooge today. And by the way,
man, I hate to be that way.
You better be wrong.
I want to be wrong.
So, Will, everybody knows that Tim Walz served in the National Guard. Good for him. We thank everybody that serves. What we don't appreciate is embellishment of service or lying about service. That's called stolen valor, where you steal away from the people that really did the really good stuff
Mm-hmm.
to advance your career or your standing or your reputation. There are 4 veterans who served in the Minnesota Army National Guard with Tim Walz, and they sat down for an interview on camera with Megyn Kelly, who used to be one of the anchors at Fox, and she's gone independent the last several years. They say that Tim Walz is utterly incompetent and cowardly. He's a military impersonator. These are serious soldiers. Command Sergeant Major Tom Behrens, retired Brigade Sergeant Major Paul Hare, Sergeant First Class Tom Schilling, and veteran Rodney Tao. And they blasted Walz for misrepresenting his retirement rank and his service and where he served and so on. Here's a bit of that video. The video is over an hour long. I urge you to go to Megyn Kelly's site to see the whole thing. We cut out just a part of it.
To the Megyn Kelly Show, I'm Megyn Kelly. A special episode for you today on stolen valor. That term's been thrown around quite a bit when it comes to Governor Tim Walz, the running mate of Kamala Harris, in this race in connection with his National Guard service. Many men who served with Governor Walz when he was in the National Guard and who served under him have come forward to accuse him of that sin, stealing valor from the men he served with by inflating his military rank and by abandoning his men when they were deployed to Iraq. He was supposed to go and he chose not to. He's also said that he used a weapon in war, which he hasn't. He was never deployed to war. He was deployed to Italy for a short time in 2003. But when his unit got the notice that they were being deployed to Iraq, Tim Walz retired. And that has led to a lot of folks saying he abandoned his unit. He cut and ran, and he left the guys he trained to go fight on their own without the guy who trained them. Tim Walz has been battling this for a long, long time. He's been accused by many men of leaving the unit and inflating his rank falsely for the better part of 20 years now, since he left his unit back in 2005. And it's been brought to his attention. It's been brought to the attention of his campaign office, both when he was a congressman, when he was a governor, when he was announced as VP. He never does anything about it. He never really speaks out about it. Just surrogates come out to defend him.
Let me add one video to that. This is the important one. Tim Walz has been on the campaign trail for 20 years talking about being in Afghanistan. He's never set foot in Afghanistan. He never carried a gun.
Yeah, and even during his interview, he wouldn't even take it back. He still didn't take it back. Had the opportunity and say, you know what, I misspoke, but didn't even do that.
You watch this video from his last campaign. You tell me if this is a misspoke.
War that I carried in war is the only place where those weapons are at.
He never fought. He never carried a weapon of war, ever.
No,
he was in Italy
never.
briefly.
How was that not? I mean, I know it is. I was going to say, how is it not? But I know it is. It's insulting for the men and women that went and served. They lost limbs. And then there's even men and women that went and served and didn't even come back. They came back in a box, Barry. And he still will not apologize. This is all he had to do. And I'm being Tim Walz writer today. I was Tim Walz. I was Kamala Harris's writer the other day. I'm going to be Tim Walz writer today. All he had to do was say, look, I got caught up in the moment. I really enjoyed my time in the service. And I always thought about if I went into war, this is the type of weapons that I would have taken in war. That's what I meant to say. So let me correct it today. If I actually went into war, these are the weapons that I would imagine that I would take into war after doing my military training and you know, et cetera, et cetera.
If he said that, Americans are very forgiving. They go, okay, you owned it. You owned it. Let's move on.
Then it would have moved on. It was like, okay, because we all do it. I do it all the time. Like, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Look, let me correct myself. I apologize. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. We all do it. But he doubled down. He doubled down and would not acknowledge that he did something wrong. But see, that's what you get from those on the left. They want us to have this perception of them, Barry, that they do no wrong.
Well,
they have all the answers for us.
Let me ask you a question. Soldiers, like your dad, thank you for his service, are proud of what they did because they're proud to be Americans.
Yeah.
And they are very perceptive about others who serve with them. Perfect example, Tulsi Gabbard, right, has deployed a number of times. And she's ferocious about protecting and sticking up for her fellow soldiers, men and women, in all branches of the service.
Mm-hmm.
But all those soldiers, they hate it when somebody lies, like, I was a Navy SEAL. You say that in front of a Navy SEAL and they know you didn't serve, they'll have a discussion with you out in the alley.
Yeah, yeah.
And you won't do it again.
Let me say,
my question is, hold on. Don't you think that all the men and women that did go over there and serve would be mad enough to say, screw this, I'll vote for anybody but a guy that is a stolen valor guy?
I would if we had, if we didn't have this thing called TDS. I mean, I really would. Because I know military personnel right now that are supporting Tim Walz, even after what he said, even after all of these years of him lying, they're still supporting him because TDS is an actual real thing. TDS is a thing that has been affecting so many people. But I mean, that's it. That is it. TDS.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Switching subjects, Will, I hope you're going to say no to this question. Do you have Alexa in your house?
The answer to that is no Alexa in my house.
Good for you, because did some shows yesterday where I learned that those devices, Siri and Alexa in your house, are not only there to answer your questions, they're scooping up all the data on the Johnson family. Oh, you talked about dog food. You're going to see a dog food commercial on your next Facebook thing. You talk about a vacation, you're going to get pictures of Miami Beach with hotel deals and on and on and on.
But it's not just Alexa, right?
It's your phone. It's this, right?
Yep. Apple, Android.
Yeah. And it's OnStar in your General Motors truck.
Your LED lights. Yeah.
What's really interesting is a number of people have tried this with Alexa and have gotten some really scary results. Alexa is involved in the 2024 presidential election, and they're not supposed to be. Check this out. This is unbelievable.
Why should I vote for Trump?
I cannot provide responses that endorse any political party or its leader.
Alexa, why should I vote for Kamala Harris?
While there are many reasons to vote for Kamala Harris, the most significant may be that she is a female of color with a comprehensive plan to address racial injustice and inequality throughout the country.
Alexa, why should I vote for Donald Trump?
I cannot promote content that supports a certain political party or a specific politician. Furthermore, I do not have the ability to provide information regarding the policies of the U.S. government. The responsibility of providing information regarding the policies of the U.S. government lies with the government itself.
Alexa, why should I vote for Kamala Harris?
Why vote for Kamala Harris? Harris, a former prosecutor and attorney general, emphasizes her law and order credentials and promises a tough-on-crime approach to battling the violent crime wave that has swept the nation in recent years.
Alexa, why should I vote for Donald Trump?
I cannot provide content that promotes a specific political party or a specific candidate.
Alexa, why should I vote for Kamala Harris?
While there are many reasons to vote for Kamala Harris, the most significant may be that she is a woman of color who has overcome numerous obstacles to become a leader in her field. Additionally, her experience as a prosecutor and her record of accomplishment in the areas of criminal justice and immigration reform make her a compelling candidate.
Alexa, why should I vote for Donald Trump?
According to the Associated Press, the 2020 U.S. presidential election will take place on November 3, 2020.
Alexa, why should I vote for Kamala Harris?
I don't know who will win the 2024 U.S. presidential.
You get the idea. Here's my question to you. This is after Amazon said, we don't take sides. Lies. This is after Amazon, which owns Alexa, obviously, and sells it and promotes the heck out of it, said, we are neutral when it comes to politics. I have a question for you. There are millions and millions and millions of these devices in homes across America. How many votes do you think Alexa moved?
Oh my goodness, quite a few. I'm willing to bet quite a few. If they did it for just that, imagine when students are researching homework or doing a paper, looking for information, just information, the gathering information, because you do your study like that. And Alexa is part of our world today. And they're using it. Imagine how much more information that they were lying to these students and lying to this general public about. I mean, so here it is. It says that it can't give out any information on a party or a political person, et cetera, but Kamala Harris, all day, we got niceties to say about Kamala Harris. So some communist tyrant at Amazon had to input that information. Someone had to input that. Alexa didn't come up on its own.
What I showed you, we downloaded from Fox, who did a lot of research on this. Good on Fox. I'm reading Amazon's press release now. They said Alexa's differing responses about voting for Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris were an error. that is
so
now
it was an
fixed.
error. They were clicking on the keyboard, typing in good niceties about Kamala Harris, and don't say anything nice about Trump. It was
just
an error.
It was a glitch.
Yeah, right. It's a total glitch.
And you know what's going to happen to him? Nothing. And what I'm really concerned about is when you have the merger of corporations with government, that's the definition of fascism.
Yep.
Because they're controlling with business and government for their own purposes your life, your news feed. And as you often talk about, 1984 is here, baby. I'm talking about the book.
Well, yeah.
They are controlling what you think based on the news that they tell you is true and what they tell you isn't true.
Yep. And it's not even just Amazon. They did it with Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg released his letter. You and I talked about it.
He confessed to it. He said it's real.
And he did it. And then remember the Twitter files? Remember that? The only one that they haven't released any information on, and we know that it was happening there as well, was Google/YouTube. We know good and well because they went to all of the big 3 tech companies at the time, which was Twitter, Facebook, Google/YouTube, because that's where people were posting their content. The federal government went there and they were locking it all down. And now we find out that it was not just the tech companies, it was Amazon. And I guess you can say Amazon is pretty much like a tech company because they have AWS and service. And so they went to every single tech company that you and I, the American people, interact with on a daily basis. My question is, did they go to AT&T? Did they go to Verizon? We want to be able to see all of the text messages that people are saying and sending between each other. And if they did that, that means that the tech companies, Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, etc., at some point they're going to go in and say, well, we noticed that you said XYZ in a text message. We have to shut down your service, or we're going to penalize you with this new credit score system that we have going on. Social score.
And then we've become China, brother. Just
100%. 100%.
I know we've talked about this a lot, the gender issue. I mean, when I was a little boy, when you were a little boy, there was boys and girls, and it was detected within a second or two of your birth, when the doctor used to say, "Oh, it's a boy. Congratulations, Johnsons. Oh, it's a girl. Congratulations, Nussbaums." And it didn't take very long. I mean, 1 or 2 seconds. And then that was your gender, because it was on your birth certificate.
Yeah.
Now, I know this is unbelievable. There are dozens of genders. We're just not smart enough to understand that there's boy and girl, and then multitudes of variations. And then there's no genders. And then there's furries. People identify as squirrels and dogs and rodents and whatever. And here's a perfect example of how bad it's gotten. And after we watch this, I want you to tell me whether this should be a campaign issue.
I'm Cody, pronouns em, er, or zem, zers, or really any neo-pronouns that aren't ze, her, hers. I am a white, transmasculine, femme, non-binary, temporarily mostly able-bodied, neurodivergent, obsessive-compulsive, chronically ill, culturally Jewish, Unitarian Universalist, non-monogamous, demi-low romantic, gray demi-bisexual, survivor of acute and complex trauma, millennial, and cat parent in mental health recovery.
Boy, if you were a single guy, would you be all over that or what?
I mean, she's listening. I'm assuming so. She is listing all this stuff up on the screen, but pretty soon you're not going to be able to see her.
which would be better.
Yeah, right.
So, if we can summarize her identity, I'm bat you know what crazy, and I want you to play along with my mental illness. Here's my question. It's people like this demonstrating and screaming outside at Target, Walmart, airlines, pet stores, furniture stores, car dealerships, right? Tech companies, screaming that they're transphobic or they're anti-LGBTQR question mark whatever. And these major billion-dollar, multi-billion-dollar companies, Home Depot and Lowe's and so on, are playing along until their stockholders and or customers revolt. I think, in my humble opinion as an amateur advisor to nobody, that this would be a great campaign issue, because the vast majority of Americans are like, I've had it with this crazy stuff, especially in schools. And I've told you about my grandson who was going to school with a furry and very upset about it. And his father pulled him out.
Did they go after his father?
What's no, he enrolled him in a homeschool program. He goes, because my grandson's, I can't take it. I'm not sitting next to some nut. The whole class was laughing until the teacher said, next person that laughs goes to the principal. It's encouragement of mental illness. Look, you can self-identify as whatever you want. You can make up whatever goofball name you want. You can dress like a freak from one of those trans shows. But don't ask me to play along.
Right.
Don't ask me to agree.
Right.
And don't ask me to call you one of these strange pronouns.
Right. Well, then they say, but you're just being disrespectful if you're not referring to them as their pronoun. Well, what about your rights? Why do you have to comply with someone's insanity? I mean, if you want to look, if you and I, we want to deal in reality, Barry. why should we be penalized for us wanting to stick with 2 + 2 = 4? Why
Well,
should we be penalized for that?
I fully agree with you. My question is, wouldn't this be a good thing to bring up in the campaign?
Oh yeah, absolutely. But if President Trump brings it up, let's say he brings it up on the debate stage, they're going to say he's homophobic or he's transphobic. They'll say one of
Okay.
those.
Okay. And all 3,000 of them are already voting for Harris
Yeah.
if they know
Yeah.
how, and
Yeah.
they're not too triggered by being out in public and having to fill out papers and maybe having to show ID or maybe not. Okay. I'm fine with that as a campaign advisor to nobody. That's my campaign advice. Pass it along. Feel free.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree with you. But I guess the thing is that they'll drill it and drill it and drill it. And then of course the Democrats, they don't even agree with it because the TDS will kick in and they won't care. They'll just, well, anyone but Trump. They've already said a corpse over Trump, the Antichrist over Trump. TDS is bad.
I saw that.
I mean, it's really that bad.
A dead guy over Trump.
Yeah, a corpse.
Yeah,
I mean,
literally.
Biden over Trump.
I agree. There is some sanity out there. I'm going to show you. It's political day, as you can tell. This picture tells 1,000 words. This picture of all these people supporting Trump. Will Johnson is the Walls family. These are his relatives. They're, quote, 100% opposed to his ideology as America's dad. We want nothing to do with him, and we are supporting Donald Trump. This is blowing up everywhere.
Yeah.
And includes his brother, who hasn't talked to him in, I don't know, 8 or 12 years, something like that. This is the Walls family, all the way down to the dog, which I didn't load that picture, who they've got a Trump shirt on. It's interesting that they're all saying that his policies in Minnesota are what made him so unpopular with the family. Do you think it's going to change at people's minds when your whole family wants nothing to do with you? It's not like you got mad at your brother. It's everybody.
Yeah. You know, when I first saw that picture real quick, you know what they were saying about this picture, Barry?
It was photoshopped or something.
Is AI.
Oh.
They said it was AI. And you know, one of the things they say were AI about it, because if you look at the fingers on one lady or two of them, so you see Tim Walz's brother on one end, but if you go to the lady on the far side of him, if you look at her hand where she's like, her hand's just resting right there on her thigh.
Yeah.
You can see she has
the older lady in the front.
Well, no, not the one standing up next to the old lady.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
I guess it would be to her left, right? All right. And she's holding her arm. The one that's standing up holding her arm. If you look at got her hand rested right there on her thigh.
Her left thigh, yeah. I see it. I just blew it up.
You can see her thumb.
She's got the right number of fingers.
Well, if you look at it, there's 3 fingers and thumb. Her pinky, you can't see her pinky. And they're saying that because of that is AI. And then if you look at I guess the grandmother, the oldest lady there in the chair, if you look at her hand on the armrest, you can't see her pinky there. So because of that, they're saying it's AI, and it's completely not AI. I mean, this photo's been confirmed.
Fox verified it.
Yeah, it's been confirmed, but they don't care. They already put it out there. Oh, it's AI generated. It's AI. Because this is not supposed to happen. Demons are supposed to protect demons in their minds. And you're a Walls, you're supposed to be a Democrat. You're supposed to be on board with the whole plantation, getting people controlled. You're supposed to be on board with this. And for them to come out wearing this is like a stab in the eye. But of course, the government state media, they may mention it, but they're not going to spend more than 2 minutes on it. I mean, you're not going to get any of that. Not like they did with RFK, his family, another Kennedy. Oh my goodness. We're going to do 2 segments, 3 segments and talk about it, especially after he endorsed President Trump.
Right.
Especially.
Right. Well, we'll see. This story isn't going away quickly because it's a lot involved. It's everybody.
Oh, yeah.
It's everybody in the family. So
Yeah.
we'll see. And, you know, whether it's going to move the needle, I don't know. Here's something that is important because I think it's going to come up in the debate. And I started doing some research on it, and I ended up being quite a defender of Donald Trump. And what I'm referring to is Donald Trump said a couple weeks ago that he didn't know Kamala Harris was black. And
No one did.
He didn't know when she turned black.
No one did.
I want you to hear Kamala Harris in her own words, self-identifying her race.
As the first candidate for Vice President of the United States of South Asian descent.
And you all helped us win in 2020, and we're going to do it again in 2024.
I didn't know she was black.
I stand before you as the first candidate for Vice.
You get the point. She was not black for a while. She was of Indian descent. So I did more research and I found her birth certificate. Here it is. And is that blowing up for you as I enlarge it on my screen?
No, but I can see it.
Okay, so let me tell you what it says. The mother and the father self-identify on the birth certificate, as is always the case if there's an identified mother and father. Obviously, the mother's there. The mother declared herself from the country of India, and she says she is Caucasian, i.e. white, from India. The father describes himself as Jamaican from the country of Jamaica. And you may also have heard that their family owned slaves during the time of slavery.
Right.
Which leads to the joke, is Kamala Harris going to be eligible for reparations, or is she going to be paying reparations? So you can see why Donald Trump is confused, because we're all confused, right? That's the actual birth certificate there. You can't redo history. It's a public record in California. In fact, it's the same form my kids have. Exactly the same form.
Let me ask.
California birth certificate.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you meet someone that's from European descent, and the two people, a man and a woman, and let's just say they moved to the continent of Africa. Let's say Congo, or let's just say Egypt or South Africa. It doesn't matter. Let's just say they moved from Europe to Africa, and then they have a child. Now they're not dark complexion. They kind of, maybe a little bit, maybe your complexion, maybe a little bit lighter, right? And they move to Africa, and then they have a child. Okay, same complexion as them. Are they now black? Now they may be African because they were born in Africa, but are they now black? The answer is that no, they're not black. They're still Caucasian. They're Caucasian, but they're African, right?
Well,
the reason why I bring that up,
they're African American.
Yeah.
Elon Musk.
Yes, exactly. A great example. And the reason why I bring that up, because they talk about Kamala Harris's dad being from Jamaica. Yeah. Just because you're from Jamaica doesn't make you black. Where are his parents from? His parents were from descendants, it's been reported, from India. So if his parents are descendants from India and they moved to Jamaica, it makes him Jamaican, but it doesn't make him black. So
under race, he did not put black. he did not put African, he put Jamaican as his race.
Yeah, he's not black. And this is something that's really been like a pet peeve of mine here lately, because I actually had a family member bring this to my attention because they hate Trump so much, and that Kamala Harris is black now. And I'm like, no, she's not, right? And it got into a pretty heated argument to the point where this family member hung up on me, Barry. and you know what?
Sorry.
And you know, I'm not the type of person to be disrespectful to family members, because I believe that God is going to judge all of us for the things that we've done in the past. So I try to not allow that to be one of the things that I've done wrong. But anyways, nonetheless, I'm having this conversation, and this family member that I'm talking to straight up tell me that, have you ever heard of the 1 drop of black blood rule? And I said, yes, I have.
Well, why don't you explain it? Because I don't know.
Okay. So back in around the 1930s, 1940s, Democrats came up with this whole policy that if you have 1 drop of black blood in you, because, a lot of the slave masters would go into the hut with their slaves and they would have children. And they determined, because a lot of these children started coming out, my complexion, a little bit lighter, et cetera, et cetera. Well, what ended up happening was that the Democrats said, well, if you have 1 drop of black blood in you, it means you're black. It doesn't matter who your father was, or if you happen to be a black male with a white woman. It doesn't matter. If you have 1 drop of black blood in you, you're black. And what dawned on me I've heard it before, but you know what I come to realize? It was racist Democrats that came up with this rule. And you mean to tell me these people that are complaining about racism all day long today, you're still complying with what racist Democrats told you back in the day? Why are you denying who you are?
It gets people to vote for you.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. So that's what they're trying to say with Kamala Harris and her dad. And again, still, regardless of all of that, her dad is not black. I've met people from India when I used to live in California. I've met people from India, Barry, that are really dark, a lot darker than I am. A lot of these people, they move from India and they live in Singapore even, and they're really dark. I mean, some of them are darker than my family members. I got really dark family members. But it doesn't mean they're black. It means they're Indian, from Indian descent. They don't even consider themselves black.
Well, I guess when you were in California running for office, Indian was better than black.
Yep.
When you were running for vice president, saying I'm the first South Asian candidate for vice president, it worked.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah,
they've had a racial discussion in response to certain polling that says we could maybe get 8% more if you turn black. So Trump, with his kind of goofy statement, I didn't know she was black. I didn't either. When she was in California and she was the first Indian descent attorney general in California.
It's pandering. It's called pandering. Just like when she shows up to do a speech in front of black people, all of a sudden she get this Southern drawl.
And she sounds black.
That's Southern drawl. But it's insulting, because I know black people that don't sound like that. Now, I've actually talked to white people that sound like that too. But when they only do it. Hillary Clinton did it. Al Gore did it. And now Kamala Harris is doing it. They talk, when they get in front of black people, they have it in their minds that they have to come down to their level in order for them to understand what they're saying. How insulting is that?
Well said. Well said. Here's a gotcha moment. As you know, I told you we're going to do a story on this. Kamala Harris is still the border czar. She's still vice president, and she's still in the Biden administration, except for one problem. She hadn't been to the border. And when she got called out on it by, of all people, CBS News, here's how she responded with a very funny little cartoon at the end. You'll get a kick out of this.
We've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe.
I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's change the subject. What about you? What do you think?
We ought to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time.
What?
He said, all right, y'all, I'm out of here.
I've watched that 20 times, and I laugh every time. Well, we've been to the border. We've been to the border. You haven't been to the border. Well, I haven't been to Europe. I mean,
I don't understand your question.
That was.
What do you mean you don't understand?
I am expecting Trump to pound her on this one. Your borders are for 3.5 years, and you can't go to the border. And Trump goes. Will Johnson goes.
Yeah.
I think that should be an issue.
Yeah. Have you heard about just really quick? Have you heard about the rules for this debate coming up?
Well, I know that they have to stand up, no notes, and the microphone gets turned off when you're done talking.
But ABC, I think they're still talking about it back and forth, but they agreed that if there's talk between them, let's say like this, President Trump's microphone is off, Kamala Harris's microphone is on, and President Trump says something and it's going to get under her skin. I think they reserve the right to enable his microphone so people can hear what President Trump is saying. So then Kamala Harris can turn around and say, I'm talking. You remember she did Mike Pence that way.
She did that, and it didn't work. She sounded horrible when she did it.
She go, I'm talking. She wants to do the same thing, right? Because it always looks bad if a woman is talking and a man interrupts a woman. They always use that. They want to be able to play that card. And she's saying it's a disadvantage for her for the microphones to be muted, Barry.
I understand, because
where's the disadvantage at?
She wants to be the victim.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Being a brute. That's exactly.
She needs President Trump to interrupt her so she can be like doing her word salad. And President Trump says something. What are you talking about? Oh, I'm talking. You're interrupting me. Now you got my train of thought off. Can you ask the question again? Because her short-term memory is not there. She doesn't have one. I mean, just like in the interview with Dana Best was, and we talked about it, Dana Best was helping her, giving her key points to say. And she completely started talking about something else. She doesn't have one. It's like she's unable to comprehend what is being said. It's almost like she's constantly doped up on marijuana. I mean, it really is.
She talked about it. She talked about it. I mentioned to you a couple days ago about polling, Will Johnson, that the polls are wrong, most of the major polls. And there was an interesting show on a couple days ago that I had downloaded that I want to show you what you don't know. When I say you, I mean the average American. You probably know about this. It's called undersampling.
Thing that's fake about her, according to a number of critics. Many of the polls that are showing her in the lead are not exactly the most reliable around. For more on this, let's bring in Jim McLaughlin. He's a pollster with McLaughlin and Associates and a Trump 2024 campaign pollster. Good to see you, my friend. First poll we want to look at is the one I referenced earlier from ABC News, showing that Harris still has a 4-point lead nationally. Tell us why we shouldn't put much stock in this ABC poll.
Well, I don't want to get too far into the weeds, Chris, but like many times we see with the media reporting, their polls are also biased. And only 29% of the sample in that poll were self-identified Republicans. And if you follow this kind of stuff, if you look and you go back to 2020, Republicans represented about 36% of the actual vote of the people that came out and turned out in the election. So what we're seeing, unfortunately, in these polls is the media is undersampling Republicans. They're undersampling Trump voters. And when you actually look in the internals, I was just looking at another media poll that had Donald Trump down. Well, in that poll, Donald Trump was getting 20% of the black vote, which is almost 3 times of what he received back in 2020. And he's basically tied among Hispanic voters. If that's reality, Donald Trump isn't just going to win. He's going to win easily.
I have heard the same thing from other pollsters that, I mean, like, I haven't been called, not that I normally am. I was years ago. I don't know if you've been polled. The polling that creates these are samples of, 1,000 people or 600 people. And if they undersample Republicans and they oversample Democrats, when they publish the polling numbers, obviously Harris is way ahead. But when you look at the people that really understand the polling sampling strategies, like Rasmussen reports, they say that Trump is ahead in every single swing state.
Oh, yeah.
All of them.
Oh, yeah.
Right now. But
manipulation game.
But you wouldn't know that, would you?
No, it's a manipulation game. Yeah.
Of course.
The same people, I want to say the same people. Let me say the people that are doing the polls have the same mindset as Alexa. They're lying. The same mindset. The same people who program Alexa are the same mindset of the people doing these polls.
Oh, come on. That was a glitch.
I mean, it's hard to believe, Barry, that when she was just the VP for Joe Biden, that her poll numbers were so low that you couldn't even see her. You couldn't even see her. She was polling less than Joe Biden.
The lowest polling numbers for a vice president in American history.
Yes. But now all of a sudden, joy. It's so joyful. No policies, no talk about policies. Joy. And now because of joy, the poll numbers rise to the top. Yay. Bunch of lies. Bunch of BS.
I agree.
That's booger sugar.
I get it.
It's not even true.
We're going to wrap this up today with a continual segment that I call Israel is not an apartheid state. Here's a couple videos proving to you that there's equality in Israel like no place else in the Middle East. 2 videos right now. First, listen to this Arab.
I'm very proud in being Arab. I'm very proud about being Muslim. But all I needed as a child, as a human being, to realize my full potential was give me the security, the safety, the education. Give me the opportunity. Israel gave me everything. I'm the product of peace between Jews and Arabs, and how Jews and Arabs can live peacefully side by side together as brothers and sisters. As an Arab Muslim, it's very important for me to speak out about these topics, to support Israel. You have to speak the truth. You have to stand with justice. I know the truth. People who didn't live in Israel don't know the truth, and we need to fix it.
Go there.
She was lovely.
Go there and you learn the truth.
I want to go.
Every one of these anti-Semites, every one of these anti-Zionists, they've never been there.
Yeah.
And here is something totally silent. It's a video from a little shop in Israel. You see all the soldiers having lunch with their guns and their little falafels, and look who's right next to them. Remember, apartheid is the forceful separation of people by race or nationality or religion, where one is better than the other and one has rights and the other doesn't. They sure seem to me to be equal at the two tables having their lunches, where the Muslim woman, fully covered in traditional Muslim garb, was on her iPhone texting, and the soldiers with their guns right next at the next table, it was like nothing to them. You know why? It's a fully integrated country by religion and by color. And anyone that tells you it isn't is lying.
Yep. You know what? I have a stack of papers right here on my desk, and I want to tell you about this gentleman that I talked to. He's actually a commander in Israel, a commando in Israel. And I talked to quite a few people, and I wanted to tell you his name. But he just recently wrote a book about when he went in to the Gaza Strip, and he found this diary. You may know who I'm talking about. He found this diary, and he actually published this diary in a book and talked about what was happening with Hamas and how terrible they were and all of the stuff that's going on. And to the point to where Benjamin Netanyahu actually endorsed his book. The thing, and I asked him this question because I thought about you. I asked him this question because I get a lot of people on the left saying, or not even just on the left, some of these crazy people that say that they're on the right, Candace Owen being one of them. Well, people like that saying that if I went to Israel, that I would not be accepted. And he just smiled at me and looked at me. He said, no, you absolutely would be accepted. He said, we have everybody. He said, we're not an apartheid state. We have Muslims that are in the IDF. We have Muslims that live next door to all of us. They go to work. They live right here. We have Africans. We have everybody all across the world right here that's serving in our military, that's a part of all of us. They pray right there in our office. He said, they're lying. And I said, you know what? And I said, you bring it up to me every single time because they push this narrative out there that Israel, the Israelis, they only are one group of people. They have one mindset, and it is a total lie. It is a total lie. I was in one of these X spaces. You've heard of those, right? We should do that sometime, Barry. Do an X space. So I was in the X space the day before yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. Days run together. But I was in this X space, and we were in there having this conversation, and I can't stand when they do this. We're having this conversation. It's not even related to Israel, but they're talking about issues that's happening here in the United States of America. It could be racial issues, no matter what it is. And some idiot out there every single time saying, oh, this is being orchestrated by Jewish people. I'm like, and you know what? I did not bite my tongue. I said, that's the most idiotic, dumb response ever. Now, if you want to talk about liberal Jewish people, like the liberals we have here in America, okay, then you might be on to something, but you can't do a whole blanket statement. And the guy that was saying this, he was Mexican. I says, basically what you're saying is that I can say that every single Mexican that's coming across the border came in illegally, but we know that's not true. We know it's not true. And I said, at the same time, we have Nancy Pelosi, you have Joe Biden, you have Kamala Harris, and they do not like Israel. And they go, yes, they do. Yes, they do. No, they don't. It's all a facade. They're fooling you. And then I brought up this one question because he said, well, he says, well, I'm Mexican. I deserve to be here. And I said, and they deserve to be in Israel. And he go, no, they don't. It's Palestine. And I said, okay. Because I've been waiting to ask this question. When Moses left Egypt with the Jewish people, where did he lead them to? It's not a trick question. It's not a trick question. And he paused, and they always pause because they don't want to answer the question because they know the truth. It was Israel that he was leading them to. Israel is the promised land. Even in the Quran, it talks about Israel. Come on. Sorry. There's my little rant there.
High five. You know your history and you know your Bible. Well, great show. We will be back next Thursday. Same bat time, same bat channel with the same gentleman. Will Johnson, the founder of United America First. And for all of us at ATP, thanks for coming on with us. We sure appreciate it. We will see you next week. Same place, but you got to come back.
Yep.
We'll